That was it. That's our cue. It's
right.
time for Satterwhite Live.
Good morning. Welcome back to Satterwhite Live. I'm Blake Linton, and this is Danny Grizzle. And we are back today for another installment of our weekly show.
Yes, and I'm keeping Josh Thomas's seat warm because if you can believe this, somebody likes him enough to be his customer.
Exactly. That's the questionable part. So
you know, I don't think that sometimes, and I know I'm a real fan of some YouTube channels, you guys can pick up the phone and call and talk to either Blake or Josh, or there's like 6 guys here.
Yep. Anytime you want to, just pick up the phone and give us a call. So
6 guys in this office, not to mention other offices around the country.
Absolutely.
But we're not. Well, I'm the technical guy, but Blake isn't just a TV star.
All right, Danny, I'm going to go ahead and read our statement of beliefs real quick, and we'll dive right in. What do you think?
Let's go.
Okay, we at Satterwhite Log Homes are Christians. We're not ashamed of our faith. We kneel to God only and to no man. We love America. We stand proudly for the pledge and for our national anthem. We are proud of our flag, our military, our law enforcement, and our first responders. We revere our founding fathers and our Constitution, and we will fight to the death for our families, our country, and our God. What are we going to talk about today, Danny?
So we're going to talk about the building trades.
Okay.
And, you know, on one level, this is, we're not going to use any vocabulary that anybody's never heard before.
Yeah.
If you stop, I mean, if you wake up tomorrow morning and your bathroom's flooded, you know you're looking in the yellow pages under the plumber.
Right.
Boy, I'm dating myself saying yellow pages.
Yeah. And that's one thing Josh doesn't know about is yellow pages, I can guarantee you.
Yeah, he wasn't even born when there were yellow pages.
That's the truth.
But even with all those, you know, the building trades from, to get people's mind wrapped into the, around from the other side of the table and understand the building trades from the vantage point of being a contractor. And that's one thing that's going to be part of your log home journey. Yeah. Is you're going to view everything about a house differently, and it's going to change the way you think about these building trades.
That's correct. There's a lot of moving parts that goes into taking a Satterwhite log home, let's just say, for instance, a constructed shell, to a finished product.
There's a lot more aspects to this than people might imagine. Not only moving parts, but this whole cast of characters. Do your subcontractors like each other? If personalities come into play, and there's a sequence of events that take place on a house, and you know, there are some guys due to water under the bridge that don't like to work downstream of another guy because there's all kinds of issues.
Well, and all contractors have their specific ways they like to do business. And, and the specific way or order that those subcontractors come into play as they're finishing out your house. So,
and the other factor that maybe our customers don't wrap their heads around so much is that in one aspect, Satterwhite, if we're going to build your constructed shell, we're not the general contractor.
Right.
We're basically among that crowd of subcontractors.
Yeah.
And of course, we have a whole cloud. We build so many houses that we have a huge cloud of other subcontractors who know us and our building system. And
we also can help you find a general contractor to oversee the project, and they have their whole network of subcontractors. So
exactly.
You know, and if you want to take on the task of being your own general contractor, we can definitely help you, put you in touch with the network of our subcontractors to make the job a lot easier on you. So
yeah, sometimes we talk to people about how you approach building your home, because Satterwhite doesn't do turnkey. And you know, if you haven't been in the building trades or anything, turnkey means that you just drop off a check at Satterwhite and we call you up when the house is finished and we just took care of the thing and hand you the keys to the house. Yeah. But yeah, these orchestrating this cast of characters, and some of them are really characters too.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's something. You know, one thing you made me think of there, and there's pros and cons to any approach you take to building a home. You can serve as your own. In a lot of places, you can serve as your own contractor, your own general. You can You can let these bids with subcontractors yourself. Then the mortgage lending laws in your state come into play on that. So sometimes people want to serve as their own general contractor, but they have to operate under the license of a real general contractor because of state laws, or because the mortgage lender is going to require somebody who's done it before they release a ton of money.
That's very prevalent. So
yeah, that's probably, it would be the exception.
Right, where you wouldn't have to have a general contractor sign off would be the exception.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but, kind of take us through where we're headed on this, Danny.
Okay, well, you can, we could rattle off a litany of the contractors that are involved, and it's going to start out, from even land title stuff and surveyors that, you've got to have land to build a house. You've got to shoot the slope and the slight. You've got to make some plans about utility access, how that's going to, those are things that you kind of do in the pre-planning.
Probably the first contractor that would be hands-on would be your dirt contractor.
Hands-on guy.
Yeah.
And you're going to be talking to, an early consideration is usually septic systems and leach fields and perk tests that have to be done to make sure that and these things vary by the soil type, location.
The municipality that you're doing, there's different rules in place depending on where you're building for, aerobic systems, septic systems, things like that, that's stuff that's really handled in the infancy stages of the planning, I would say. But it's still...
Don't let us make this stuff sound too complicated, because you'll clear all this stuff the first call to Blake or one of the other guys here.
Right.
They'll sort this stuff out for you. We don't throw you under the bus and make you just like, no. We're gonna.
That's what we're here for.
These guys are going to walk you through every step. They've been down this road many times.
Absolutely.
But let's get into the more conventional building trades and talk about our role as in this cast of characters as one of the subcontractors, because when we dry in a shell, that house really it's the most dramatic step in your log home process, besides the materials and everything we supply. That's what makes us unique and this type of home unique. But when our crews dry in your shell, that's when your dream home takes form on your property. And so our guys who works with wood, those people are called carpenters.
Right.
And this is downstream of, we said earth moving contractors, and we've had foundation, concrete, there's been a lot of stages through here, but like I say, the guys here can help you understand the lay of the land on all that stuff. These things are pretty easy to sort out.
Absolutely. So, Satterwhite comes in, we build your constructed shell, we get done. Who's the first person in there typically?
The first person in is going to be the painting contractor.
Right.
Which is staining those logs and getting them protected.
From an exterior standpoint, yes.
From an exterior.
Yeah, because typically what you want to do, most people would agree with this, you want to get your logs stained and everything before you put your shingles or your metal on. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? That keeps it a lot cleaner. That way they don't have to mask off the metal or mask off the shingles. So you can come in there, get it buttoned up on the outside, get it stained, sealed, and then it's protected and you're ready to move on to the next step. So, so that will be your paint contractor, of course.
I thought you were tossing me a trick question there. Did I throw you off by the painting or stain guy?
No, well, I was reading that from an interior standpoint, and I was like, well, that doesn't make sense.
Well, what was your answer then?
My answer is paint and stain first.
Okay.
Yeah, get the exterior tightened up, get that done, and then you don't have to worry about the logs discoloring or anything like that.
Right.
You're done on the outside, and then we can move to the inside. So. I actually misunderstood you when you said paint. I was thinking painting the inside of the house.
No. Yeah, just the guy that you hired to do your staining work. And again, it's not paint, but that was what he would be called as a painting
and we have
contractor.
Numerous sources for that. We've got plenty of guys we can refer you to that will travel anywhere we build a Satterwhite shell to do that work for you. So
I think that sometimes we talk too much about Satterwhite shell, but we certainly. When you look at the places where we build, there's a lot of reasons for that. But there have certainly been not a few, I mean thousands of Satterwhite homes built. We're getting some power hits here in the...
Yeah, we are.
I'm seeing it on the video here.
Yeah.
These videos later. That's the craziest thing that's ever happened.
Yeah.
Even this broke down. I think people can see it on my face. I'm going to be cross.
Okay, so talking about the first one, the paint and stain contractor, they come in, they get their stuff done.
Well, sort of.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to do those log walls and get those protected, but that painter's certainly going to have to come back, and that's one of the things that you have to wrap your head around. With it's not just this big cast of characters,
Yeah.
but these people, they have sequences and they come and go. Now let's talk about. Most of them do it in 2 passes, like your painting contractor, and conceivably you could use a different guy for your finished painting on the inside, and maybe you would want to. Might be a different painting guy than you use to stain those logs that would come back and do, say, texturizing drywall and painting an interior.
Yeah, I agree with that. Then.
I mean, that's possible, and those 2 functions are many months apart.
Right.
Typically.
Yeah, and a lot of the times you've got multiple subcontractors on the job. You got your electrician.
Right.
Your electrician is diving in there first to start roughing in your interior electrical stuff. We do a lot of the heavy lifting on the log walls, running the wiring on that, but that all needs to be linked together. And so you've got electricians in there, you've got carpenters in there, your HVAC contractor is in there. In a perfect world, all these guys can work harmoniously, I guess you would say, and not get in each other's way.
Right.
But that all depends on the.
Anybody who's attended one of our seminars has heard some of the prima donna stories about contractors that didn't work together, and and a guy who's going to lay tile and who's fussing around about another subcontractor working and maybe sliding his tile around, and
usually those
he's demanding other people get off the job.
Right. The flooring contractors typically don't want anybody in there, and rightly so, because they don't want. If you're trying to lay tile, you don't need people walking across it. That's right. That's for dang sure. So.
But that's going to be. I think the flooring is fair. That's fairly late in the process.
Yeah, that is late in the game. I'd say your most important ones right after we finish the shell would be your electrical contractor, and that would be primarily, in my opinion, the first one.
The plumber is sort of a special case, because several of these trades, like your electrician, is going to be there twice. He's going to be electrician talk. They talk about rough in, trim out. So he's going to be there before your wall coverings are up, while you just got those framed walls in, and he's going to run wiring inside the partition walls, and he's looking at all those places that you want outlets for plug devices, and that's such a huge deal in homes anymore. When I was a kid, I had relatives that had a single light bulb, just a bare bulb in the middle of a room, and they would have cords plugged into that.
Right, right.
Extension cords. They just didn't. These were houses that had been retrofitted for electricity, but boy, our lives are centered around it, and we have to plan for it, and that involves the contractor not just for high voltage stuff like AC, the 110 service, and these days it probably wouldn't be bad thinking to think ahead to consideration of what the next 20 years holds, that you might be, and we're still going to do this episode, we hope, of standby generators, but I have friends here in Texas who are considering Tesla walls and solar systems. So there's a lot of, besides just the conventional high voltage aspects of a house, that maybe people are to give a little consideration to.
Well, the new smart home technology, that's a big deal, and a lot of that, I think, from my experience, deals with low voltage, but you can speak to that.
The low voltage electrical is definitely a different animal than high voltage, and without me getting into some of my war stories about how we've built our own offices in different parts of the country, just make sure that when you interview these subcontractors, that if you're going to have an electrical contractor, that they're just as qualified in low voltage as they are in high voltage, because I'm the technical guy here at Satterwhite, and I'll tell you that Ethernet is more than a word. Yeah. And so it's more than, in Ethernet, you really can't talk in terms of Ethernet about pulling wire, because the way you touch Ethernet, the way you bind it to with fasteners inside walls, that affects your internet speed. You cannot kink an Ethernet wire. And so if just a guy just tosses off, yeah, I know all about that stuff. Yeah, well, that carries about this much credibility with me, is because that's the guy. Anyway, it's one of those fools rush in situations. Right. So we beat that to death. But there's one special contractor who's going to be on your job site more than anybody else, or at least the number of occasions, and that's your plumber. Because your plumber is going to be there on the first occasion, especially, well, on any type of foundation. He's going to be there at the foundation stage before anything. Even as those forms are being built, he's going to do part of his work then, and then he's going to be back a second time where he does a rough-in stage inside the walls, his vent stacks, his another round with the plumber, and in that he would be one of those early contractors who would be in just as like if anybody who builds the shell, he's got to be in.
I'd say he's there 3 times for sure.
3 times for sure. So. And then he's going to be, the third time he's going to be there, he's going to be setting fixtures. So he's going to be placing toilets and basically the trim out phase of the plumbing.
And faucets.
Faucets and And so that he's going to be there, you know, after, if you're going to have tile set or you know, any kind of work done. A lot of people, one of my cousins built a fantastic shower enclosure. Anyway, don't look at my Facebook feed. Tom Warren, my cousin, built a fantastic shower himself.
Really?
Yeah. So these guys so, you know, to wrap yourself around this trade labor, it can also be a situation of hurry up and wait.
Right.
Because
especially in this climate we're in right now, with the supply chain being an absolute mess.
We're so grateful that our customers have been so generous to us, because we nor any other builder in the country have ever operated in the environment we are. We all know that the automotive industry is backed up waiting for chips. We've got a Ford dealership here in Texas whose lot, just in Marshall, neighboring city, that they don't have a car on their lot.
It's
because
crazy.
Everything's crazy, and so hopefully the mortgage lenders are.
They need to take some understanding, because I mean, even just appliances, refrigerators, freezers, that stuff is 6 months out, and that's unprecedented from what I've ever seen.
And that's, you know, demand is strong for homes and everything. And anybody, I mean, building a home is what you say. It's probably a year-long project.
I would say, a year-long project.
So even people who might sign a contract with us today, by the time you actually get ready with your plans and your site and all that stuff, all these problems hopefully will dissipate.
Hopefully.
But right now, I mean, there's some pain.
Yeah, there absolutely is. So, and it's changed the whole landscape for sure. But hopefully we'll get through it. On
the subject of subcontractors, because these guys like your drywall guy, and there's a lot of sheetrock in log homes on interior partition walls and texturizing all. That guy might not be just like standing waiting to start the day all your rough-in on electrical and plumbing is completed in those walls. So there's going to be
you know, there's something to be said for getting a contractor or subcontractor that's in demand. I mean,
there is.
You know, if all these guys you're calling are just sitting around the house ready for work, there's probably a reason.
Yeah, there's probably a reason, especially in this market right now.
Right, exactly, especially in this market. So.
I'm going to say a word in favor of general contractors, and because we're kind of painting a miserable picture here at the moment. And like I say, if you sign today, a few months from now, who knows? Hopefully, because we're certainly, as a company, we're working to resolve these issues ourselves. But no solution of this magnitude is going to be instantaneous. So we're still, but I think as an observer of this, I've kind of concluded myself that that if I were a consumer, that I think there is some strong merit to using a general contractor, and the reason is because because one thing, he doesn't have to spend so much time investigating all of his subs. He already knows them. He's got an ongoing relationship with them,
right.
and maybe more importantly, he's got leverage over them.
Right, and we have a great list of general contractors that we work with all the time, and you're right, they do have leverage, and because they work with these guys day in, day out.
Right.
So I cannot say enough about the general contractors that we use. They save us a bunch of headache and the customers as well.
So before we bring this to an end, let's talk about carpenters for a moment.
Okay.
Because one of those great general contractors that we got, and these guys operate regionally, so we've got names in different parts of the country, but a fellow, Jacob Moss. I don't know if you're in, anyway, Jacob Moss was in Josh's office a day or two ago. And we're visiting with Jacob Moss, and the subject of carpenters come up. And so you know that it's going to be carpenters that stack your logs and do all the things that Satterwhite does and get that roof dried in and basically put the basic form to your house. And we get so many questions coming in, will you come back to do?
Right.
We get a lot of questions about, does your shell home include the fireplace? Right. And we think, that's pretty obvious to us. Our carpenters don't do masonry,
no. And they're specialized people for that. So.
Yeah, and by the time our carpenters who know everything, we've got incredible experience among the people who build our building system and know how to handle our materials, and that's what we specialize in, that log portion of your home. And so we get that part. We're good at that.
Yes, we are.
And so, I don't mean it's not difficult. You can have another general contractor. If you're building outside of our building area, we can make that happen. And we're good at something that's not that hard to do. So we could help them. We could help them through it. It's nothing to be scared of.
Absolutely not.
But all these questions, not only do we not do those things, but Jacob Moss, this discussion we had in the office, he says, I don't want my finish carpenters involved in framing, because the stacking guy, the guys who build it, that would be in
right.
the home trades. Those guys would be called framing carpenters.
Right, and there's a difference.
Those guys who do finish carpenters, and Jacob was saying, he says, oh, if I get involved in a deal where I'm stacking the log and not following Satterwhite, but a customer because of time constraints usually, because our backlog has been bad, they want him to manage the stacking the logs.
Right.
Well, Jacob's kind of leery of that now because his finish carpenters are just too much of perfectionists to get. I mean, he was saying, he says, my guys will worry about 1/8 of an inch. Well, a framing carpenter is usually not that precision, but of course you don't want 1/8 of an inch gap in the mortises of your wood trim around your door openings in places. But those framing carpenters, the essence of it is speed and accuracy, within the tolerance, efficiency in the tolerances that's required for framing. You're looking for structural integrity of the building and all those aspects. But the finishing carpenters, that's all about finesse.
Yeah.
It's all about finesse. And for that reason, you don't want our carpenters on doing finish work on your home.
And that's not taken away from them. It's just
it's nothing against them.
It's two separate trades, and
it's two separate trades.
Absolutely. So, all right, we beat that up pretty good.
Yes, with a nuclear bomb in the middle of the show with a power spike around here.
Absolutely. So, thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed that. We'll be back next week, hopefully without a power surge and a new topic. And if you guys have any recommendations for topics, please email or call in. We'd love to hear from you. and thank you for tuning in today.